songs, puppets, fun, and mime. Welcome to the story time. Hello, Augustins. How are you doing? The story that I have for you today is about the little mermaid. Do you know what mermaids are? Mermaids are imaginary creatures with half upper body like human beings and lower body like a fish. Isn't it amazing? Now imagine, Augustians, if you got a chance to change your lower body, which animal would you choose? And while you're thinking that, let me start with the story. Far out at sea, below the waves, deeper and deeper and deeper still, stood the Sea King's castle. There, at the very bottom of the sea, the water was as clear as glass. The sand was as fine as powder. The Sea King was very proud of his castle. It was the perfect place to bring up his 6 mermaid daughters. Each daughter was given her own small garden to care for. "I'm going to shape mine like a whale," said the eldest. "Mine will have a seashell border," said the next. "And I'm going to grow pretty flowers," said the third. The fourth and fifth mermaids loved exploring. "Let's decorate our gardens with treasure from shipwrecks," they said. Shipwreck is when some ship meets an accident and then what is left behind is called a shipwreck, Augustians. And the little one? She hugged a statue of a smiling boy. "Look what I've found! I'm going to put him in my garden." They spent all day in the castle waters, tending their gardens and playing games. And in the evening, their grandmother called them inside for supper. And when they had supper, they would usually tell their grandmother, "Tell us a story, Grandmama." Grandmama had seen the world above the waves. She told amazing tales of men with 2 legs and no tail and all the imaginary stories she knew. She knew stories of buildings as tall and oceans deep and sharks that can glide fast. And the little mermaid, the littlest one, hung on to her every word. "When you reach 15, you may rise above the waves and see these things for yourselves," said the Sea King. And the littlest one waited to turn 15. And she would count. "I'm only 9 years old. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 more years to 15. On the eldest sister's 15th birthday, the Sea King's castle frothed with excitement. After all, she would now get a chance to swim to the surface of the sea. "Come back quickly," called the little mermaid. She wanted to hear everything about the world above. Her sister finally returned. I watched the sun sink into the sea. Its orange light flooded with water. "Oh!" And rest 5 of them had so many questions. "Were there any boats? Did you see land? What does air feel like?" And the littlest sister was the most curious. "Did the wind stroke your hair? Did the sun kiss your cheeks?" That night, the little mermaid gazed at the sea above. A black blot glided through the water. "It must be a ship. I don't know who's there." And she fell asleep, dreaming of sailing the ocean. One by one, the sisters reached 15 and were allowed to swim above the waves. The little mermaid watched them rise up, hand in hand, longing for the day she could join them. As time dragged on, she would spend time with that statue, thinking, and finally the year, then the month, then the day of her 15th birthday arrived. As soon as the celebrations were over, she set off for the surface. "Goodbye," she said to her sister. Her head broke through the waves and she gasped. She saw a ship. The little mermaid swam closer. Lanterns hung from the masts and lively music filled the air. She stared in delight as their 2 legs carried them back and forth. A handsome young man appeared, wearing a crown. "Happy birthday, Prince Milo!" the people shouted. The little mermaid watched the prince, enchanted. It was as if her statue had come to life. Suddenly, there was a big storm. Waves rose up like mountains around the creaking ship, and a streak of lightning split the dark clouds. The little mermaid rode the surf with glee, but then she heard cries from the ship. She couldn't go away like that. "They'll never survive without me. My help. Oh, the poor prince. I must find him." She searched everywhere, diving between beams and planks. At last she saw him, clinging to a broken mast. She pulled the prince to a sheltered cove and let the waves wash him ashore. "Thank you," he murmured. The little mermaid looked at him, smiled, and walked away. The little mermaid floated joyfully back to the castle. "How was it?" her sisters asked together. "Beautiful," she sighed. All day the sisters played in the castle waters. "Catch!" cried the eldest, throwing a sponge ball. But the little mermaid was dreaming of walking with her prince. At dawn, she returned to her statue under the sea. "Will I ever see my prince again?" she asked. And then one morning her sisters asked, "Why do you swim to the same place each night?" The little mermaid blushed and told them about her prince. "I've seen that prince. He lives in a grand palace by the sea." "Really? Show me!" cried the excited little mermaid. That evening, all of them together went up to that palace. And there she saw the prince. "It's my prince." "Do you think he's looking for me?" "Don't be silly," said the eldest sister. Day after day, the little mermaid returned to the palace, and each time she swam a little closer. When the prince went sailing, she swam behind him. She prayed for a storm so she could save him again, but it never came. Back beneath the waves, the sisters were decorating the castle for a summer ball. "Come and help us." But little mermaid, she didn't listen. And eldest sister warned her, "Remember, you are a mermaid. He is a man. He will only make you unhappy." But little mermaid did not listen. She said, "I have to do something." And one dark and dangerous journey to the sea witch's cave she took. She went, dodged swirling whirlpools and darted past slimy seaweeds. And when she went there, she said, I want some legs." "Do you want legs to impress that prince?" she snapped. "That will cost you dearly." "But I have nothing to give you," said the mermaid. "Yes, you do. Your voice." "But how will I talk to my prince?" "That's not my problem." Okay, I will." And then witch gave her a potion that will split her leg into two and give her legs, human legs. And she added, "There are 2 things you should know. 1, if you drink this potion, you can never go back to your father's castle. And 2, if your prince doesn't return your love, you will dissolve into the ocean waves." "Do you still want to drink it?" "I do." And they were the last words she ever spoke. With a wave of her wand, the witch added the mermaid's voice to her potion. By dawn, the little mermaid was sitting on a sea rock near the palace. In her trembling hand, she had a bottle of the witch's potion. Suddenly she saw the prince, and as soon as they saw the prince, she drank it. Her tail had split into legs. The prince saw the splashes. She could not swim anymore. "Who's that? Somebody help her." Servants helped her and got the young lady into the castle. He helped him, got him some new clothes, and said, "Come, I'll show you around." That evening, the little mermaid stood on the prince's balcony. Froth waves danced on the rocks below. 5 tails flipped by, and she recognized her sisters. "Come back!" they cried. "Come back!" The little mermaid shook her head and smiled. She had made her choice. "I don't even know your name," the prince said. "But when I saw you in the water this morning, I thought of my own true love. I almost drowned once. I was swept to a beach and woken by a lovely princess. Tomorrow, it's our marriage." With that, mermaid, her heart was broken. She didn't know what to do, but she had no other choice than to go meet the oceans, because she could not go back to her family. So that was the story of the Little Mermaid, dear Augustians. Think before you leave your family. Think hard. Family is love. Bye-bye, Augustians. See you next time.